So how are we doing with our tofu?
That's getting close.
Okay. Alrighty. So I will also just get ready for some of the things that are going to go later. We have a cucumber here, and I can't remember, Marilyn, do we use the whole cucumber or just part?
You only need about a half cup of the chopped cucumber,
okay.
So probably a half of that one. That's a pretty big cucumber.
It's a pretty big cucumber, so we'll take about this much.
Now, if you get the English cucumbers, and those are the ones that are wrapped in the plastic at the grocery store, go ahead and feel free to leave the skins on those because they're not waxed or anything.
Or if you buy an organic one.
Or if you buy an organic one, because those aren't typically waxed. But if you buy a conventional cucumber, peeling the cucumber is always a good idea just to get any residues off and any waxes off the cucumber.
And it's pretty easily done.
Yeah.
So we'll just cut this up. And this, again, is going to go on at the end. Usually, things like cucumbers aren't actually put into something that's hot because you don't want to heat up the cucumbers. And so just putting them in cold at the end is kind of nice and refreshing.
And we usually take the seeds out of the cucumber for this recipe.
Okay.
So if you buy the seedless cucumber, you can skip that step. But since ours is a regular good old cucumber,
we will seed it. Easily done. Okay. I might steal your spoon. One of the ways to seed cucumbers that makes it pretty easy is just cut it in half like this, and then we will just take the spoon and just go like this and just run right along the inside of the cucumber and take those seeds right out.
Now, one step that we forgot to do with the tofu that may make it brown up a little bit faster is to maybe blot it with some paper towels to get the extra water, the water content out of the tofu, and that'll help it like brown up a little bit faster in the skillet.
Moisture. Oh, it's starting
but
to brown there.
It's still doing a good job. Just maybe taking a smidge longer than we thought.
All right. The other thing, you know, if we talked about canola oil when we were in the grocery store, and using canola oil is great. The other thing that might be good and tie in really nicely is peanut oil. And peanut oil can be heated fairly hot, and so using that would be a good option as well.
That is another good option.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
Depends on what you have on hand.
Yeah, and the canola oil is really, like, it's a good investment to buy because it can cook things like this, but it can also be used in muffins and cookies like we said in the store.
Baking is really a great use for it. And better than olive oil. You know, we're always talking about how great olive oil is, which it is, but baking, you don't want to use olive oil necessarily because it has such a strong pungent flavor, so you'd want to use something like canola oil. All right.
Think of it as a healthy alternative to like your traditional like vegetable oil or corn oil. I'm going to go ahead and flip these as they're starting to get a little bit golden brown. You can even let it go farther than this if you want. A little bit deeper brown, but we'll just go ahead and turn these for now. But this way the tofu gets a nice, kind of almost like a crust on the outside of it.
And it tastes so good, and it holds up really well then in the dish. And when you bite into it, it's, you know, it's just like biting into almost a meaty protein. And it just tastes so wonderful.
And the soy protein is just, it's a great way to get, it's a complete protein, and yet it's a vegetable protein, so it has absolutely no cholesterol in it. But yet you're still getting the protein that your body needs for its everyday functioning, like your immune system.
Right.
You need protein for your immune system to function optimally. And Christy, you were saying at this point in my life, I should be getting more vegetable protein as well, correct?
That's right. So Marilyn is pregnant.
Obviously. No hiding that.
And one of the things, actually, there's a lot of new research out there on fertility. And diet and fertility. And so if you have trouble getting pregnant, there are some dietary steps that you can actually do to help improve your chances of getting pregnant. One of those things is just increase your sources of vegetable protein in your diet. And the reason is not so much because the protein in the vegetable source itself is better, but it's because of what the vegetable is packaged with. Okay. So usually when you're getting vegetable proteins, you're actually getting fiber and you're getting other nutrients and you're losing the saturated fat and some of the negative nutrients that you get from only eating a meat-based diet. So that's the reason. Okay.
Good to know.
So we are going to cut up, the basil is going to go on the top kind of as a garnish. And so one of the easiest ways to cut basil, line them up or stack them from biggest to smallest. So I'm just going to kind of nestle them all right in here and then roll them up like a cigar.
The fancy name for this is the chiffonade for the basil.
Which I did not know.
It sounds fancy, so if you want to impress somebody while you're cooking.
Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and grab some paper towels and a plate for when these come off, because you really want to blot the tofu when it's done so that we get any excess oil off of it to keep it a little bit lighter.
All right, and then after I finish cutting up this basil to put on the top, I am just going to cut some lime wedges, and those are going to also go as a garnish on the plate, and we can use those for seasoning up the dish. In general, in Asian cooking, limes are often used, and they're just delicious.
This is a nice fresh zing to it after the dish is done,
and coupled with the basil. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, this has like 1 more minute, and then it's ready to get out of here.
Okay.
Looks perfect.
Alrighty, here's our lime. And limes are a good source of vitamin C, obviously. They have, they're citrus fruit, and so you're gonna get some vitamin C from a lime.
Okay.
I'm just gonna cut up little wedges here. Oh, that looks delicious. And so what do you need next? Do you need the green onion?
I do need the green onion.
Okay.
I'm gonna add a smidge more oil to the pan. Oops. And get that in a second.
So here is your green onion. You can just go ahead and put that in. The garlic's right there as well. If you need that.
Not yet.
Okay.
But thank you for warning me, because that would.
You're welcome. Go right in.
Okay. So the green onions are done, and I'll throw the bell peppers in. If you notice, I chopped the bell peppers a little bit larger than like a large dice. You can even do strips if you want it. Like, it doesn't have to be a fine chop for this recipe.
And if you did want to use chopsticks to eat this recipe, you would want bigger pieces, because it's always easier to pick up a bigger bell pepper than it is a tiny little minced bell pepper. So,
if you're skilled at all enough to use chopsticks, that's one art that I haven't mastered. Not even come close. I don't even think mastered is the word. Like,
we had Chinese food last night, and so my husband and I, we always bring the chopsticks over to the table with a spare fork, just in case.
Yes.
Yes, I try to get my last little bit. You know, one of the good things about eating with chopsticks, though, is it forces you to slow down a little bit.
That's a good point.
And because you can't get as much into your mouth as quickly, it's kind of nice to slow down and eat a little bit more slowly. And it's one of the things when we're talking, you know,